finding inspiration has got to include some element of development
Yeah.
and of change, whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
to you, I've found inspiration, obviously, I'd say in travel, in movies that I've seen that have had,
Yeah.
in impact on, perspective and values, uh, books, obviously for me, conferences
Yeah.
and gatherings. But I think it's just actively thinking about what that is for you. And it'll change because
Yeah.
sometimes,
Exactly. Yeah.
books, if you're a book person, maybe to some extent you have to take a vacation from books
Yeah. I do
because
something different.
and do something different. Go see a movie, you know, invest in seeing, old friends that you haven't seen
Yeah.
before, or in a while. And, so it's, yeah, and I mean, to be honest, that is, you know, I think that is actually, particularly for creatively minded people, is actually a challenge. Is how do you find your inspiration? Because it was easy, we would just go, oh well, I need to do my inspiration
Yes.
exercises
Yeah.
today,
Just do it. Exactly. Yeah.
and so for me, so it's been. I think I've talked about the ice bath. Another thing that I've invested in has been in meditation.
Yeah.
That, and I do genuinely believe that it's made a real difference in that. I think we're taught to believe that somehow or another your emotional responses to something are just pre-coded things.
Yeah.
Someone says, fuck you, asshole, and oh, I have to I get angry at this person
Yeah.
and then maybe say fuck you back or maybe punch them or whatever it might be, right? You could actually choose to not even get angry about it
Yeah.
and make a choice to do
So
that.
change your response.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there will be initial emotional responses. And I'm not saying, oh, you can code that out of your life, but you don't have to, especially if you know it's to your detriment.
Yeah.
Someone says something offensive and you punch them. Well, that has
Yeah.
consequences. You might be morally correct, and everyone around you saying that's
But it's gonna be a
brilliant.
lot worse for you because of that, though.
I'm walking to a hotel in the Docklands area,
Yeah.
and with my bags and there's like a group of say 12 kids and say let's say like average age 14 or something like that, right? And then one of them jumps out at me, right? And basically to scare me and who press his group sort of thing, right? And I just literally zero. I was trying to act tough. I was trying to act cool. I had no idea it was a surprise, but it was just like, oh hello. I literally said, oh hello, as if he was a little child, which he was, and just moved on, and so I don't know what else to credit to other than this idea that maybe this meditation stuff actually does
Yeah.
work, and the only thing I would say is that I think that it's very useful for what you might call acute stress situations
Yeah.
where something bad has happened and you need to actually stay cool in real
Yeah.
time, right? Well, I think it can possibly be bad is to try and manage it in chronic stress situations where you have a chronic stress in your life and you choose to kind of mute the emotionality of it through your meditative techniques,
Yeah.
which means you're effectively ignoring stress that actually is in your life.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you can over index, having found this, like, it's like anything, the hammer always, to a hammer, everything is a nail.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And so, that's what I'd say is the only thing to do is just like, yeah, it's cool if you've actually have found some value out of meditation, but it's not the answer of all things.
No.
It's just useful in certain situations. So
Yeah, something that's worked for you. And that's the thing is like you're finding that change, that thing that means you can deal with the situation much better. I mean, those are the situations you're able to deal much better. And there could have been much more negative consequences to those, but just having that mindset, having that sort of base, whatever it might be, to kind of be more resilient in a situation, I guess was quite useful in your case.
yeah, yeah. So for me, I think, those basically trying stuff,
Yeah.
is been a real source of inspiration. And I feel, I mean, unfortunately I can't speak to Herb in a parallel universe
Yeah.
who never did meditation, who doesn't do ice baths, and ask him how he's going. But it feels like knowing who I was before and who I am now, that like it has, made a difference. And I think that's, that's because, and that's, I think for me, one of the biggest differences is not just going, oh, I need inspiration. It's time for us to go on our annual holiday,
Yeah.
whatever, right? Or got to go to this conference again.
Yes.
And it's like anything, it's like, it's like having too much champagne. We were talking about that before, where it's like you drink champagne every day, and guess what, it's no longer special.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah,
so you find value or pleasure out of something once, doesn't mean you need to go to the same trough every single time.
yeah.
And so, and that, I think honestly, for a lot of people who suffer from mental illness, I think actually sometimes it's a case of they can't find inspiration
Yeah.
to move on, and maybe it's because their searching for inspiration is broken.
Yeah.
They're using the same old things.
The same tools to expect a different outcome, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like people who, I mean, lots of people party and have a great time in their 20s and 30s, and sometimes they carry on in the 40s and 50s, and it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, they've always not moved on in developing what is a good time look like
Exactly.
at this phase in my life. So yeah.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you very much.